How do you speak about resistance training to your patients? And back to the beginning of this conversation, you mentioned MAD, minimum effective dose. If we're thinking about exercise more broadly, resistance training and cardio, what is the minimum effective dose?
As you know, I'm very much into exercise. I love it. I love exercise physiology. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who likes to read, has been treating patients with these for a long period of time. I don't know if you're familiar with Notebook LM. Are you familiar with Notebook LM?
Yeah,
okay.
It's great.
So
I use it. Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I got to tell you that as a physician is the biggest breakthrough of the last 20 years. I don't know. It's crazy. So I have all my clinical guidelines for exercise in one notebook, and working on it for 5 months, I finally reached to the point where I had like a very, very good set of directions for people to do my instructions. I have pamphlets, I have instruction manuals, I give them lists of exercise, and I tend to emphasize at the very least 2 sessions per week, which you and I know that that's the MED for resistance training, and total body exercises. And we start with, depending on their baseline, 1 set per exercise, 2 sets, and eventually progress to 3 sets per exercise. And we talk about the repetition maximum. I put it in a way that they understand. Like if they have 2 more repetitions in the tank, that's where they should stop. All that stuff is written in my manual, in my notebook, because I have all the clinical guidelines there. And that's how I start a conversation. And then obviously you have to reassess every visit. And then you realize, for instance, that your patient has 2 jobs. There's no way they're going to go to the gym. And there's just no way that they're going to buy equipment for their home because they just don't have time, period. And that's where bodyweight training has a place. You and I know that, is it ideal for hypertrophy? Probably not. Probably not number 1. That's definitely weights, but that's something. That's how I address the issue. I basically have the clinical guidelines tailored to the patient, and if they can't do resistance training the proper way, I find alternatives.
And then in terms of cardio, I'm sure people have questions. What is cardio? If I do cardio, am I going to lose muscle? Is it going to affect that resistance training I've done?
Yeah. I mean, probably you have a better way of communicating this than me. I'm going to tell you how I communicate it to my patients. You and I know that saying that doing cardio and resistance training in the same session, it's not bad up to a point. But in terms of making it more practical for patients, I like to say, just do your resistance training and your cardio session separately. I say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, let's say, do resistance training, cardio Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And in terms of cardio, I talk about effort. And we start with 20 minutes per session. We go to 30 minutes. And if they reach 30 to 45 minutes per session of cardio, I'm super pleased. Like super pleased. I don't even push anymore. And at some point, you and I, we got to talk about that as well. It's all about psychology. Like with my private practice population, there are people like you, like young, that they read, that they go into research and they read everything about optimization of exercise. And when they reach 45, they say, Dr. Mao, I want more and more. And they end up doing an hour, 90 minutes, 95, they start measuring their lactate levels and doing all this stuff. But at what point enough is enough? At what point enough is better than trying to optimize every single corner of your life? And I got to tell you, Simon, it's tricky, especially for overachievers. It's super tricky. They get into this rabbit hole. They want to know more. They want to feel more. They want more muscle mass. It's really tough. So that is another thing that it would be very wise if you discuss that in your podcast with a clinical psychologist or something like that.
Yeah, I believe it. I think over-optimization is a thing. I think there is a point where doing too much and obsessing too much can become counterproductive to the very thing that you're trying to achieve. How to measure that, how to know that at an individual level is a very interesting question.
Yeah, how? I remember one day I was having dinner with my wife and my kids, and we were in this very nice restaurant. I think it was in Mexico. And then I wasn't able to do my resistance training session in the hotel in the morning. So we were in this restaurant, and all I kept thinking about is, why did I miss the session? And that day, it dawned on me, like, this is not healthy. This is really dumb. This is really silly. So that day, I came to the conclusion that sometimes enough, it's such a difficult thing to achieve, but so important.
And that took awareness from you to slow down and listen and pause.
Yeah, it's really hard. And the good thing about it, though, is that I have that experience. Like, I'm 44, I'm still studying, I create companies, I do this, I do that. So I know that doing too much sometimes it can take a toll on you. But since I have that experience, it's also very simple for me to convey it to my patients. Like, you're going to reach a point where the return is going to be minimum, and the burnout might reach a level that you're not going to be comfortable with.
Alrighty, friends, quick one before we dive back into this episode. Summer sleep can be brutal, and I want to give you a better tool than just blasting the air conditioning all night long. Here's the thing that many people miss. Your core temperature has to drop for you to fall into deep sleep. And what actually matters there is the surface you're lying on, not just the air in the room. That's the gap 8 Sleep fills. It's a smart mattress cover that sits on your existing mattress and cools or heats each side independently anywhere from 12 to 43 degrees Celsius. If you've got AC, the pod works right alongside it. You're cooling the bed directly instead of the whole house, so you can ease off the thermostat a little and take some load off that summer power bill. And if you don't have AC, this is the one. It turns the bed from a hot, restless, sticky, kick the sheets off situation into somewhere comfortable you actually sleep through the night. My side runs cool, my partner's runs a little warmer, and nobody has to negotiate. Here's the really clever part. 8 Sleep adjusts the temperature of your side of the bed according to your body temperature, the room temperature, and the stage of sleep you're in. Cooling the sleep surface before you get into bed helps you drift off faster and supports deep, slow wave sleep. And keeping the temperature in the right zone overnight means you're not getting the thermal disruption that negatively affects REM sleep later on, the stage of sleep where memory consolidation takes place. Use my code THEPROOF at 8sleep.com/theproof for up to $500 off. The 4th of July sale ends July 12th. You get 30 days to try it at home and return it if you don't love it. Again, code THEPROOF at 8sleep.com/theproof.